Hey, welcome to this video where I'll be going through how to do the summer sword shenanigans on HEMA Scorecard. Essentially, you go to HEMA Scorecard, you have the login details for that, and you'll log into the event. Nice and straightforward. You'll be selecting event staff, the organizer, and you're logged in. There will be a bunch of tournaments listed, 3 in fact. You'll know on the day which one you're supposed to be clicking on. We'll just click on a random one for now. When we click on the tournament, we'll go to pool matches, and that will show us the list of all the pool matches. This tournament is midway through. Matches which are coloured in full are concluded. Matches which are kind of blanked out a little bit are not concluded. You can also choose the tournament up here in the menu section if you're not on the front page, so if you need to change. And you can choose between the different pools, different rounds, by clicking through these. These are the Swiss rounds. It looks a little different for the pools, but not really very much different at all. Should have put do not disturb on. The main thing you need to know is how to run a match, and it's pretty straightforward. The basic match structure is nice and simple. Essentially, we've got not much on it, right? We've got the fighters up here, we've got a timer, and we've got a few match options down the bottom, which I'll come back to in a second. When you start the fight, I want you to start the timer. The timer doesn't really have any value in terms of the rules, but I want to know how long the fights are lasting so I can plan things in future as part of the test. If you forget to start the timer, don't worry about it. The simplest things to do are when an exchange happens, you simply select the score that the person landed, and you only really have 2 options. You have no quality if you throw it out, or you have a 1-point hit, and then when you've selected the hits relevant, you add it there. Same thing if Liz hit a scander, there you go, and if it's a double hit, you just put it in both. You can see at the bottom the exchanges that have happened, so if you need to look at anything there, you can see it. If you need a history, if you need to change something, for instance, you typed it in wrong, you just hit this match options button, edit previous exchange, and select the exchange that you want to change. Okay, this is now not treating that as having happened. Let's say it was 1-point hit to ask instead. As you can see, the rules have now updated. Scores have now updated. When you get to the end of a fight, which is determined by the number of exchanges we've got, right? 2 more exchanges here. I'll add 1 more double, and then a clean hit to ask. The match will automatically conclude, assuming that somebody has won. The winner is automatically assigned to red because he's got the higher score. You can see all the things here, and it's come through. If you messed up, right? If you think this was actually the last score was, for instance, was a double, then you can simply hit reopen match. You're back into it, right? And once again, we can correct the previous exchange and turn it into a double instead. Ties are not possible under this system. So if you have a tie at the end of 7 exchanges, you'll get this error message: tie match cannot conclude. The rules have a system for determining who wins in a tie. The primary criteria is who first landed a clean exchange. In this case, it was red. So we would look down at the list of exchanges, see that red first landed an exchange, hit the red button, red wins. We treat it as a win in the system. I'll reopen that match. Let's pretend for a second that these were all doubles. Not a single clean exchange in the entire tournament, in the entire match. In that situation, you go to sudden death. Now, there are various rules for how we assess sudden death. I'm not going to go through them now. Sudden death works exactly the same as anything else. If it's a clean exchange, we just put it in as a clean exchange and they'll win. If it's double, put it in as a double. assess the criteria for how you assess a double, and if on assessment from that, for instance, blue wins, then we would just select blue wins in the same fashion. Match concludes. By hitting enter pool, you'll go back to the pool matches and you can find your next fight, which you should be able to determine on the day. One thing I forgot to say earlier is how penalties are handled. There's two things you need to know. First of all, when you open up a match like this, you might see this little warning in the top here, prior penalties. That allows you to see any penalties that have been applied previously to any of the offences involved. In this tournament, really, that's just for information, so you can know this person's already been warned 3-4 times, whatever, for the same thing. If that is recurring, then that's a case for get me involved to decide whether they need to be kicked out or not. Most of the time, all you have to do is add penalties, but if you look at this scoring arm, it's not particularly clear. Like, there's no actual option you can see here for adding it. There is just a couple of steps to do. It's pretty simple still. The main thing is, first of all, you have to click this Show Exchange Types, which is right above where the scores are. And then that pops up some more information for you to use. You can also use this to clear last exchange in a slightly different fashion. Whichever you prefer is easier for you is fine. They do exactly the same thing. But the main one is we hit more for penalty warning. We'll select who's being penalised. Everything's a 1 point deduction in this. You can skip colour because it's not relevant. And then you just sort of hit what they're being penalised for. And the point deduction will now be applied. That's pretty much all you need to know. It's nice and straightforward. Not much that needs to be seen within it. And I hope it was all clear. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.